Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome. I see just a lot of reflectors into my eyes, so I'm completely blinded, but when the lights were on in the entire room, I thought it was quite full, and this makes me so happy. In a way, this whole event, including the talk, for me, it's a dream come true, because first, it's a physical festival and it's finally happening, but also because with the works of Yuasa Masaaki, we wanted to do the retrospective and honor his work already for 2 years. Actually, it happened in Venice. Some of the colleagues and friends and collaborators that are sitting here in the first row know. Right after the screening of INU-OH, which premiered in Venice 2 years ago, I knew it's time. It's time for this great master of cinema, of reinvention of himself and such originality. It's time to introduce him to IFFR audience in a much more substantial way. And also, in general, my ambition, as my colleague programmers know very well, it's how much I constantly keep banging on and insisting on, we need more animation, because in big festivals like this, animation often kind of tends to represent itself in very few, singled out films, and we know that there is so much interest, there is so much originality and incredible things happening in the world of animation that festivals like Rotterdam definitely need to do much more and present it in much larger numbers. So what better way to do it than to start it with the retrospective of a master of animation and Japanese animation as such, Yuasa-san. I discovered his work long time ago, because also my festival curation history and work also goes back into an animation film festival in Zagreb, AnimaFest, which I worked for 4 years, I think. And I was deeply immersed into that world. So Mind Game was one of the first works I discovered, which I found very mind-blowing. And slowly following and discovering Yuasa's work, it made me realize that very few directors and animators are able to, as I say, challenge and reinvent themselves with such a sweetness, subversiveness, capacity to also combine the avant-garde and the popular at the same time, to reference as much Japanese tradition as American one or from anywhere else, and finally to create something that is very idiosyncratic and very Yuasa-san. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce now additional speakers next to Yuasa on this stage, and that will be Jennifer Linde Barker, who is a professor in film studies and equally expert in animation, the best person to do this job, and we know that already because this is not their first conversation. Last year, we have published a book called 25 Encounters, in which one of the most fantastic conversations that have occurred in the dialogue were between Yuasa and Jennifer. So this is, in a way, also a continuation for them. However, this time in person on this stage in front of all of you, which makes me really happy. And we will also invite on the stage Dick Steheberns, who will help us with the translation. So please welcome us here all on stage.
Hello. Yuasa desu.
Okay, thank you to the festival and to Yuasa Sensei for being here, and to translator Dick Stegeverns, and to the wonderful team who helped to put this together and make it all happen. So let's get started. I'm going to ask a question about beginnings. So why did you choose animation? I know you are influenced by live action film and like it very well, but why did you choose animation in particular?
最初にお聞きしたいのが、実写映画の影響もあったようなんですが、実写じゃなくてアニメを選んだ理由は何でしょうか？
それはやっぱり最初がテレビアニメが最初だったので、自分が見ていたテレビアニメを見て、当時は雑誌もない時代でしたから、キャラクターを覚えて幼稚園でみんなに帰って見せると喜ばれたので、喜んでそれをやっていたところから始まっています。
So going back in time, television animation was pretty much all there was. And so when I was very young, still in kindergarten, so I used to copy those and show them to my friends.
割と放任主義だったので、いろんな壁にとかガラスに描いても怒られない家庭だったので、多分いい気になって絵を描くのがまず好きになったと思います。
Hang on. Could you put the still for mind game up? I just wanted to give an example of some earlier work.
And so our families was a relatively free household. My parents had no problem whatsoever with me, so drawing on walls and doors, and that also helped, I think.
でもアニメーションの仕事っていうのは分からなかったので、まあ、姉が読んでいた少女漫画なんかを読んでいて漫画家になろうかなというふうに思ったんですけど、漫画家はやっぱストーリーを作るのが大変だなと思って、なかなかできないうちに日本でアニメーションブームが起こって、アニメーションという仕事が分かったので、自分はこれをやりたいんだなっていうことが分かりました。
So of course I was also reading manga. But for making mangas, you need stories, and I was not so sure whether I could come up with those stories by myself. And so, in due time, in Japan, an animation boom occurred, and this gave me the conviction that there would probably be decent work in the animation industry.
そのストーリーを学ぼうっていう過程の中で実写映画もたくさん見るようになって好きにはなったんですけど、やっぱり大勢で何回をやるよりやっぱり一人で絵を描く方が小さい頃は好きだったので、アニメーションに行ったのは多分自然にそうなったと思いますね。
So, on the basis of the experience of my work, of course, so I also need to come up with stories, and I also studied live action film in order to become more proficient. But nonetheless, let's say making this so is more like a group process, and so I was relatively shy and I think more at ease, so just like drawing images on my own.
多分少し社交的になったのは多分演出の仕事をやるようになってからですね。
So I think that so by making animations, so I now have become so a more social human being.
That's great. So live action and animation feel like very different things, but it seems to me that you have found them to be very influential. What are some of the interesting differences for you to begin with that animation can do that live action can't really?
まあ岩佐さんの中に実写もあると思いますが、だからその実写とアニメの違いはやはりありますし、なんかその実写にはアニメにはできるで実写にはできないものは何でしょうか。
好きでアニメーションの仕事に入ったんだけど、本当入ってみて思ったんですけど、すごくやっぱアニメーションの仕事って大変なんですね。
So I started out in the manga industry, so because I really liked it. So, but in due time, I became very aware that it's quite difficult work.
一日かけて何秒もかけないことに本当に気が遠くなるような感じでした。
So there's so many images that you have to make for just a few seconds of film.
実写だアニメーションというのは全てをこう描いているので、特に 2D アニメーションを描いているので、例えば実写だったら役者さんがいればもういつでも立体的な役者さんだし、なんかいつも男前だったら男前だし、でもアニメーションの場合はなんかキャラクターをこう作ったらそれを何千万何万枚とちゃんとした立体でちゃんとした動作で動く。でいつも男前なら男前にするっていうのがすごく大変だなっていうふうに思いました。
So in live action, you can just pick a handsome actor, have him sit, have him walk, and things will look good. So, but in animation, to have the same effect, you need to draw 10,000s of images in order so to make this character look in the same nice, handsome way and have him move in a handsome way.
The people who have been really influential to you, either in terms of animation or live action, in terms of how you think about your work and articulating your work?
実写とアニメを問わず、監督の作品に特に大きな影響を及ぼした、作品を、教えていただけますでしょうか。
そうですね、本当何でも小さい頃見たのは本当宮崎駿さんの作品や柴山勉や本当スピルバーグの時代だったのでスピルバーグなどの作品を見て育ったんですけどブライアン・デ・パルマに一度ハマって、ブライアン・デ・パルのカメラワークが、それは演出をやるようになってからなんですけど、映像にも言葉があるんだなって映像もカット割りも文章なんだなっていうことをよく思いました。
So of course I watched the animation of Miyazaki Hayao and others, and this is also the age of Spielberg, so I also normally watch this. But at a certain stage I really got caught by the works of Brian De Palma. I think his camera work is magnificent, and he really taught me that so images can convey in the same way as words.
Yeah, great. Your work is so energetic and full of movement, and sometimes it feels like it's exploding all over the place. Can you talk a little bit about how you think about movement and how you create movement?
監督の作品は、すごくエネルギーがあって躍動も、あり、時にはもう爆発しそうなんですが、そういうエネルギーとかを取り込むことに関しての思いを聞いてもよろしいでしょうか。
そうですね、やっぱりどうしてもやってると実写を追いたくなる部分もあるんですけど、やはりアニメーションならではの表現方法っていうのがやっぱり、緻密で情報緻密でないとするとやっぱデフォルメした方向で考えています。
So of course there is influence of live action in there as well. So but in my animated work, so I also definitely want to include things that you can only do in animation. So in that sense, I always will have some parts that are deformed.
多分車がすごく走ってるんであればなんかすごいスピードでリアルな車を描くよりはやっぱ車の仕組みが見えるような形でデフォルメして動く方がいいし、たくさん人が動く中でもやっぱり何をしてるかが分かるような風になんかデフォルメされていた方がいいと思いますね。
So for instance, if you have a car speeding at fast speed, I want to show it in such a way, so by emphasizing certain parts that you can really see the motion. And so also if there's a large group of people, so I'll use deformation to have somebody stand out so that you can really see what a certain person is doing.
そうですね、本当実写にはなかなかかなわないですけど、アバターなんか見てもすごくアバターでアニメーションでガーってやってる激しいシーンの後に人間が実際あーって一生懸命やってもやっぱりちょっとアニメーションの方がデフォルメされている分なんか激しい感じがするので、そういうところがアニメーションの強みなのかなというふうに思っていますね。
So if you have very fierce movement, of course you can also have this in live action. So, but I think that so in animation, using deformation, so you can express this even more fierce.
We're really lucky today that you actually drew some examples of animation to show us. So would you like to talk a little bit about, I guess in Japanese it's Detective Holmes, but in English Sherlock Hound, the Miyazaki animation?
これからいろんな映像を使ってお話ししていただくなんですが、はい、最初は探偵ホームズですか。
ああ、車のやつですか。
Hey, can we move forward to the short animation that's on loop?
これはルパン三世のシーンなんですけど、
this is Lupin?
侍が降りてきて人を蹴散らすシーンなんですけど、ここでデフォルメしてあるのはこの刀の持ってるとこですね。手をすごく大きく描いてあるんですね。それで彼がこう刀の動きが分かりやすいし、切ってないのに切った線だけが入れてとても早く切ったってことを表現してるとか、そうですね、袴の膨らみですごくアニメーション的に柔らかく表現していますね。
So this is actually a scene from Rupang, so where a samurai is descending from the sky, and so using deformation, so the hand that holds the sword is extra big, and then so you also have an effect. So you can see that the line is cut. So here you can make it seem as if so the cut is very, very fast.
多分ここは宮崎駿さんが原画を描いてるのかなって思いますね。
And so it's not 100% sure, so, but most likely, so these were drawn by Miyazaki Hayao himself.
これは僕が見てラフに描いただけなんですけど。
すみません、もう一度。
これはそれを見て僕がラフに描いただけ、真似しただけですけど。
So of course, you know, this is a copy that I made by myself. This is not Miyazaki.
そういうとこがいいっていうことですね。自分が真似しているところ。
So I think, yeah, this is very good and something so that I would like to model myself.
車のとかもありますか？
We have something from Carrie, Art and Fink, and then Fox and Hound.
次の絵に行ってみて。
はい、車の絵がなさそうです。申し訳ございません。
でもあったんですけどね。はい。はい、次の絵に行ってください。
So please.
No. いい。次の絵をアニメーション見せてください。
So can we see the next?
Yeah, can we go to the Carrie animation a little bit further on?
これは好きなブライアン・デ・パルマのキャリーのシーンですね。
So this is a scene from Brian De Palma's film Carrie.
主人公の友達が壇上に登った女の子の上に上からバケツをかぶせようとするシーンが分かるシーンですね。
So there is a scene where we gradually become aware of the fact so that the friends of the protagonists want to drop the content of a bucket on her.
揺れている電飾の紐から気づいて見ていくと梁の上にバケツがあってそのちょうど下に彼女が来るという。
So we follow an electric line, and then so we gradually go up, and then we finally see the bucket.
子供の頃見てすごいなと思ったのはそれは何も言葉がないのにこれを見ただけでそういうなんか流れがストーリーが分かったことですね。
So what I found so impressive when I saw this film when I was young, so that here, so no words at all are being used, and so by means of images, you get to understand a lot.
なおかつバケツの下にいるっていうのを分かりやすくするためにさらになんですかテープを落としてこれから彼女の上にバケツの血が落ちますよっていうニュアンスを伝えているところがすごいなと思いました。
So in this scene, so there's also a tape that falls down, and so exactly where so the protagonist is standing, so you know that the bucket is there for her.
It's funny, I have oddly never watched this film before. And when you told me that Brian De Palma was one of your favorite filmmakers, it made me want to go look at it again. And seeing this in particular, I've seen this scene before. Seeing this in particular makes me want to kind of go back and reread things in terms of thinking about them as animation. So thank you for that.
この作品はですね、実は見たことがなくて、そして今回お話の中で出てくるのがやっぱり見直して、そしてやっぱりすごいなんかアニメ的で感動して、そういう機会を作っていただいてありがたく思います。
自分はあんまりストーリーがなくてもシーンが面白ければその映画が面白いと思うんですけど。
So I think so, even so, without subtitles, without words, that if the images are interesting, that is sufficient.
このシーンが予告編で流れて僕この映画をすぐ見に行きました。
So this scene is actually from the trailer of Barton Fink, and just this made me want to go out and see the film.
僕には難しい映画でしたけど、でもこのシーンだけはとても大好きですね。
難しい。
全体的には映画としては自分には難しかったけど、このシーンだけはとても好きです。
So I think the film itself is maybe a bit too complicated for me, but I really love this one scene.
これはなんか見てる人と作ってる人が会話してるように感じるんですね。なんか。
So it's like as if you are in between the people who made it and the people who are watching it.
目が覚めると隣に女の人が寝ている誰だろうっていうクエスチョンがあって。
So first there is the question of so we have somebody waking up and there's a woman beside him. So who is this woman is the first question.
で蚊が止まってるんでどうしようっていう次の話があって。
And then the next question is because there is a mosquito on his body, what to do with the mosquito?
でも力いっぱい叩くんでびっくりしますね、僕。
And then so he slaps very hard so to kill the mosquito, and that really astounded me.
多分女の人はびっくりすると思うから。
Because you think that this will make the woman wake up.
でも女の人は動かない。
So, but the woman does not move at all.
すると下からダーッと血がたくさん流れてくる。
And then all of a sudden, so we see a lot of blood coming from under her body.
めちゃくちゃ面白いと思うんですよ。
So I think this is incredibly interesting.
もうこのシーンだけで僕はこの映画が好きですね。
So just for this scene, I love this film.
だからそういう最初僕ストーリーっていうものにあまり気がつかなかったのはそういうやり取りだけで映画が見れちゃうところがあるんでそういうのが好きなんです。
No matter the story, just this build up, I think, is fascinating.
Yeah, I mean, I think I actually like your version of the scene better. I mean, it's been a while since I saw the film, and I'll have to go back and rewatch it. But I just love this. I could watch it all day. But yeah, it is amazing how you can sort of move through a scene by focusing on these sort of small things that get unpacked.
こういう繊細のことになんか強調して いつもと違うなんか映画の読みが出てきて、非常に面白いと思いますし、今の監督の解釈も、私が最初見た時との解釈ちょっと微妙に違いますが、なんか監督の方の解釈が面白いです。
You have another that Fox and Hound. Can we put that one on as well? It is really amazing to me, and I think this is one of the reasons I love your work so much, that I feel like you see things so differently than I do, or that I'm inclined to, and then I just fall in love with the way that you see something. The next one.
なんかフォックス&ハウンドも同じくなんかやっぱり監督の見方が私の元々の見方と違ってて、そしてその監督の見方に従っていくとやっぱり非常に面白いものが出てきます。
これの速いスピードのものってありますか？
もっと速いスピード
2つあるはずですけど。
two of them. I think one's slow and one's fast.
So can we have the もっと速い方がいいですか？
はい。
So could we have the fast one?
これですね。これ今。これでも多分ちょっと早いんですけど、アニメーションを勉強するによってビデオに撮ったものをコマ送りで見るようになったんですね。
So to study animation, I used the video recorder, and so recorded animations and then watched them scene by scene.
それは家庭に初めてビデオが普及した頃です。
So that became possible when video recorders made it into households.
やっぱりロトスコープのような実写をなぞったようだとアニメーションやっぱりうまく動かないですね。
すみません、もう一度お願いします。
ロトスコープのような実写を人間の実写をなぞった映像ではちゃんと動かないんですね。
So animation does not work in the same way as live action, and you cannot follow the motion of live action in the same way.
ポイントになる絵を選んだり誇張しないとうまく動いて見えない。
So you have to select one point which you don't emphasize, and that makes the motion look nice.
でも中には想像できないような絵が中に入っていることがあって、それがこのシーンですね。
So, but すみません、ちょっとついてきません。もう一度お願いします。
すごいたくさん流れる絵の中に想像できない絵が入っていることがあって、これは想像できない絵が入っていることでとても面白いと思ったショットですね。
Okay, so within the various images, there is an image that you cannot fantasize by yourself, and so it is that one image, so that makes it really interesting.
狐と猟犬っていうディズニーのアニメーションがありますけど、それでクマに抑えられた犬が暴れるショットです。
So there is the Disney animation, Dog and Hound, where a dog is being pushed down by a bear, and so vehemently resists.
ここまでデフォルメしたショットはここしかありませんでした。
So, and here, so you see how the shot, so it has been very extremely deformed.
最初と最後の絵は割ときちんと描いてあるんですけど、間の絵が結構思い切った絵が入っています。
So the starting image and the ending image are relatively conventional. So, but in between, there's so very extreme deformation.
でこれでちょっとゆっくりしたのをもう一度見せてもらえます。
So, can we now return to the slow-paced one?
Yeah.
そうですね。結構めちゃくちゃね潰れたり、こういう絵が入って、でも見てるときはそんなに気がつかないんですよ。普通に激しいシーンだなと思って。
So if you just watch this normally, you'll probably just see, okay, this is a relatively violent scene. So that if you watch it so very slowly, so you actually become aware of how extreme so these deformed scenes in between are.
やっぱり実写を研究してなんか間にどういう絵があるかも研究しますけど、やっぱり 実写ではないような絵を入れて誇張して作画することも必要なんだなというふうに思いました。
So, of course, I also study live action, and so how they so represent movement. But so here we are in animation, and I think so that we need these special animation techniques.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. Yeah, I mean, as I said before, your vision of the world always influences how I see things. And so the latest film that you did, INU-OH, I think did that in a number of ways. And I wanted to show a film clip from the point of view of one of the main characters where he's partially blinded. And so we see things, again, in a very different way. So I guess we'll just go ahead and perhaps explain, and then we can go ahead and show the clip first, and then talk about it.
監督さんの世界の見方が非常に面白くて、そしてその例として今犬をのシーンを見せたいと思います。主人公がちゃんと目が見えなくて、それがどういうふうな映像になっているのかちょっと確認したいと思います。
アニメーションの特性でもあるっていうかいいところでもあると思うんですけど、カメラで撮れないような絵を入れたいなっていう感じがありますね。カメラで撮れないような絵を入れたいっていう。
So this is one of the characteristics of animation, so that you have the urge to include parts so that cannot be shot by a normal camera.
こう頭で見えてる風景ですね。
So a landscape that you can only see inside your head.
目は見えないけど聴覚から空間を把握してる感じ。
So even if you cannot see, that you can create a landscape on the basis of what you hear.
冒頭にある途切れた海は木に遮蔽された奥の海ですね。海のことは知ってるんで青く見えてる感じ。木に遮られてることだけは分かるって。
So here the protagonist cannot see, so but just on the basis of his hearing, he knows that so the seascape that there are trees in front of it.
歌を歌ってる人に気がついたんですけど、歌声と三味線じゃないや、琵琶の音に集中しているので、音と口しか見えてないという感じです。
And so in the same way, when so he's listening to the song of the biwa player, so he's so focused that in his mind, so he only sees the mouth and the biwa, the instrument.
彼が冷静であったら、もう両側にたくさん人がいるのに気づいたはずなんですが、もうビアにすごく集中してたので、初めて聞く音でいい、歌とビアの音色だったので、そこへ向かっていくシーンですね。
So if he had been more tranquil, he would have been aware of the fact that so it was not just the biwa player, but that there were many, many other people around the biwa player as well. So because he was so focused, so he only saw the mouth and the biwa.
視覚がない方でも結構聴覚からいろんなこと空間を把握してるんだなってことが今回調べていてよく耳にしたのでできるだけもっと意外に空間的に把握できているんだってことを犬で表現したいと思いました。
So in the research for this film, so I learned that people who cannot see, so nonetheless on the basis so of their hearing, can have a very good spatial understanding. So that was a part that so I very much wanted to express in this project.
男の子の母親が持たせた名札は人に見せるためでも目の見えない人に見せるためには考えていなかったので墨汁で書かれていますね。
墨汁。
墨で書かれていますね。
So the protagonist had been given so this wooden marker by his mother so that people could read his name. However, she had not assumed so that this marker would ever be read by somebody who could not see. So she had just written it in ink.
ビアの集団はみんな目の見えない人で構成されているのでそのプロダクションで手で触って分かる名刺のようなものを渡されて派遣されてそこで相手にも見せるようなものとして名刺を代わりに立体的な名前を持って名刺を持っています。
So in sharp contrast, so the biwa player lives in, let's say, is part of a collective where almost everybody so is blind. So instead of the usual Japanese business card, so they have this wooden marker, so where things are carved out, and so they can feel and read the name in that way.
そういうプロダクションのようなものが室町政府から保護されながらあって江戸時代まであったというふうに聞いています。
So for the research, in the research for this film, so we learned that so these kind of so carved markers, identity markers, were used from the 14th century onwards up until the mid-19th century.
でも目の見えなくて目の見えないビア奏者は多分何十年か前までは個人ではいました。
And so these type of biwa players were so existent in Japan until a few decades ago.
Great. So as I was watching this and you were talking, it occurred to me that you're really translating from non-vision to vision for this film, in a way. And you also basically translate all the time from different mediums. So perhaps you could talk a little bit about working from manga or translating from novels into animation.
見えないものを見えるようにして、それなんかそういう漫画とか、小説を映画化するっていうなんか連想していくと思いますが。Can I have the question one more time?
Yeah. So can you speak a little bit about translating from manga? Or from novels, which is a lot of the work that you do.
漫画か小説をアニメにするに関して、ちょっとお話をいただけますでしょうか。
そうですね。漫画や小説でもうすでにそういうものを読んで楽しんでるファンたちを満足させるのは結構難しいというふうに考えていて。
So when turning a manga or so a novel into animation, of course, so there's the huge problem that there already is a fan base out there of people who really, really love this manga or this novel.
小説の文章や漫画の絵を見てもみんな同じものを感じているとみんな思っているけど意外とみんな個人個人で差があるんですね。違うものを見ている。
So although the images of the manga and the story of the novel, of course, there's only one, but every individual adjusts these so by themselves.
そうですね。なんか 読んだものはそこになくてやっぱその人の読んだ感覚の中にあるんですね。
So the experience of what you have read is not in the book, but so ends up in yourself and becomes individual.
だから小説ですごく可愛い子って書かれていても、みんながすごく可愛い子っていうのを映像で書くのはなかなか難しい。
So even if it says in a novel so that there's a very, very nice, lovely girl, so everybody will have his or her own imagination of that girl.
例えば四畳半神話体系とかだと絶世の美女っていうのが出てくるんですけど、それはやっぱり難しいっていうふうに考えたので、逆にこう美しすぎて見えないっていうふうにします。
So for instance in Tatami Galaxy, so in the original there's a mention of the most beautiful woman in this world. And so turning this into animation, I made her so beautiful that you can no longer see her.
それと四畳半神話体系で難しかったのは主人公たちに名前がないので、でも名前を見るシーンは小説で書いてあるんですね。だからそれを名前を見せずに名前が書いてあるってことを表現するのが。
名前がないのに名前を見る？
名前を見るシーンはあるんですね。でも小説上は名前を明かしてないんですよ。
なるほど。So what is problematic in Tatami Galaxy is that no names are being used. However, in the original, there is a scene where they see their names.
四畳半神話体系はカット割りでうまく逃げて、こっちのウォークオンガールの方はやっぱり絵本に名前が書いてあるんですけど、それが光って見えないっていうふうにしましたね。
Sorry, I didn't get. すみません、もう一度お願いします。申し訳ございません。
四畳半神話体系の方は、フレームで、うまくごまかして、そこに名前が書いてあるけど見えないっていう表現にします。で、ウォークオンガールの方は絵本に名前が書いてあるのを見せるっていうショットがあるんですけど、そこもやっぱり名前のところが光っていって見えないっていう処理にします。
わかりました。So in Tatami Galaxy, I used the frames in such a way that so you cannot see the name. So let's say I tricked it out of it. And in the case of so Walk On Girl, there's also a scene so in the original where they look at the name, and I made it so bright that eventually you cannot see the name.
それは小説にない名前を新たに作って違うイメージを与えたくないのと、なんかみんなが想像していたらそれを壊したくないっていう感じですね。
So there's two reasons. On the one hand, so I did not want to intrude upon the original, so to the extent of making up a new name by myself. But then also you have the fantasy of the original readers who probably made up a name in their minds and didn't want to cross that.
ちょっと違うかもしれないですけど、ウォークオンガールはエッチな絵を見せるシーンもあるんですね。その時はなんかシャレで鼻を回して鼻の絵を回してそこが見えない風な感じに処理しました。
And so in Walk On Girl, in the original, there's also some slightly tricky, sexy scenes. So here I used flowers to cover those.
I remember. So this is also from Tatami Galaxy, and I love the fix of not having the faces or not being able to sort of fight between your projection and somebody else. And you did a lot of really other interesting things with the series as well, especially with this character. Could you maybe say a little bit about that?
そうですね、小説で主人公はこの右の男の子が悪くて自分の人生が悪くなっていると思っているので、悪魔のようなやつだっていうふうに思っているので、実際悪魔のように書くようにしました。
So the relation between these protagonists, the one on the right is like a devil to the one on the left. So in the animation, I actually turned him into a devilish person.
でも最後にキャラクターの立場が逆転するんですけど、その時は主人公の方がこっちの方が悪魔のようになり、こっちの方が普通の絵になるっていうふうになっている。
So however, eventually the tables turn, and this then I show by what used to be the protagonist on the left, turning him into a devilish character.
それは最終回で行われるんですけど、それが意図的であるのが分かるように、その最後の週だけオープニングとエンディングを抵抗しました。
So this is something that happens in the very last part of the series, and I also emphasized it by changing the opening and the ending songs.
これは逆に小説にはっきり書かれてないことを逆に絵的にはっきりやることで分かりやすく面白くなるんではないかと思ってやったところですね。
So these are things that are not in the original novel, but which by means of animation, so I think you can express in a very novel and interesting way.
INU-OH is also an adaptation. It seems to me it's actually an adaptation of a translation of the original story. Are there ways in which you feel like you really made that story your own? I mean, we watched before the example really of the point of view. Is there anything else about the story that was really compelling to you?
犬の場合も、これも本案だと思いますが、原作の翻訳の、本案でしょうか。これもそういう元のものを、自分のものにする何か特別な工夫をされたのでしょうか。
そうですね。INU-OHは琵琶法師が語るように短編がたくさん書いてあるようなスタイルの小説だったので、それを一本の物語にして一つの筋にするようなストーリーにしました。
So first of all, the original consists of all sorts of fragments, so sang or narrated by a biwa player. So the first thing I did was to turn it into one story.
そうですね。映像系もそうですけど、それで出来上がった舞台っていうのがあんまり小説に書かれてなかったんですね。
So a bit similar to what I did with Ezoken. In the original, so the actual place is not very clearly mentioned.
でもやっぱり映像になった時にはなんかそういう映像系なら作ったアニメーション、INU-OHならやっぱ彼らがやってる舞台っていうのを見せなければいけないというふうに思います。
So, but if you're going to turn this into animation, you're going to need a specific setting. So that is what I did for Ezoken, but then also for INU-OH.
それでINU-OHで言えばやはりINU-OHの姿を実際の姿を見せずに外側だけで彼の姿を想像させるような形がいいというふうに思いました。
So in the case of INU-OH, I thought it was so very interesting. So to, let's say, merely show his outside and not so his true presence.
またこう特殊な形であるということもそれが呪いっていうか悪いことではないっていうふうな意味合いにすることも必要でした。
すみません、呪いとどの関係ですか？
呪いによって体の形が違うっていうことを、肯定しないような、意味合いにする必要があって。
And I also considered it important to show that the fact that his body is deformed by the curse is not merely a negative thing.
Yeah, there's for me a lot of characters in your work that are kind of transformative or that are moving between different boundaries, and I feel like there's so many that we could talk about right now, but we only have a couple minutes. So I wanted to just put up one more image, and this is from Ride Your Wave. It's in the waves with the two people touching. Perfect. I wanted to just end with this image, and then we'll go for some Q&A with the audience, because to me it just is such a perfect sort of transformative moment. This kind of mixture between sadness and beauty and joy and loss in your work. If you want to say something about that, you can. And then, I'm sorry, that's not a really specific question, but maybe something about this particular image. How did this come to you, I guess?
この絵に関して説明していただけますでしょうか？
この絵ですか？これはポスターになった絵で、死んだ彼が水になって帰ってきたところに再会したというポスターの絵ですね。
So this is the image that we used for the poster. He passed away, but here, he returns in the form of water, and so this is where they meet again.
Maybe why did you decide to do it in this particular way? Why did you put it in the water in this particular way?
なんでこういうふうに描いたんでしょうか？特にこの水の描写はどうしてこういうふうになっているのでしょうか？
波に乗るサーフィンなのでちょうど波がやってきたところに、タイトルが主人公が波に再び乗れるようになるっていうふうな話でもあるのと、水の上と水の中であるっていう隔たりがあるっていうことも同時に書きたかったですね。
So here, the wave is important, as you can also tell from the title. He would return on a wave, and so in terms of the wave, you can also serve it. So being both above the water and inside the water, was an element that I wanted to catch in this image.
Well, I'm going to thank you for this conversation right now before we move into some Q&A from the audience, and just say, I mean, this is one of, I can't even name how many images of yours that really stay with me all the time, and hear a particular reality and animation and life and death in a way come together in this absolutely beautiful shot. So thank you for the conversation. We're going to talk now, I guess, with the audience for a few minutes. If anyone has a question. I guess right up front there. Second row. I don't know, is there? Yeah, there's a microphone.
I'm glad to see you again, Yuasa Sensei. I had a question regarding your latest film. With Inuo, we see two characters going through a physical and mental transition. What was your thought process while designing the characters on the narrative side of things?
新作の犬王なんですが、2人の、主人公が、これは体の面もそうなんですが、神聖的にも、大きな変化をたどっていくと思いますが、これはナレーションの上で、どういうふうに設定したのでしょうか。
犬王の形が変わっていく。
犬王の主人公、そういう、人体的にも、精神的にもかなり変化していきますので、これはなんかそういう
多分
どういうふうにイメージしていくかとか、どういうふうに設定していくか。
犬王のでは精神が変わらないという設定で考えています。犬王はもともと自分の体を変えたいとは思っていなくて、ただ舞台でこう踊りたいというふうな人格であった。その単純なところが長年こうダンスや音楽をやってきた人たちにはこう失ってしまった純粋なアーティストの創作意欲を持っているのが犬王だっていうふうに考えていますね。
So in the case of Inuo, not the other one, there is no mental change. It was not intended. And he neither is very much longing for physical change. The most important thing, so for him, is to once again dance on a stage and do so in a much more pure way than so the people who are, let's say, drowning in tradition around him can no longer do.
似たようなストーリーとして手塚治虫の「ドロロ」という話があって、呪いで体が違う形になっているのを復讐することによって悪魔を倒すことによって自分の体が戻っていくスタイルです。
すみません。どの作品ですか？手塚治虫
の「ドロロ」。
ドロロ。
はい。
Okay. So in the work Dororo by Tezuka Osamu, so you can find the same theme. So where somebody deformed by a curse, so by way of training, what is this? Makes his original body return.
犬王はそのちょっと現代的な解釈の話だというふうに思っていて、彼は体の変化を望んでないけど、ただ自分が楽しく踊ることでその呪いを解いてくれる亡霊たちがいて、で最後に彼は変わっていくわけですけど、最終的に彼がどの時が一番こう彼らしかったっていう答えが最後に現れる時に出ている形になっていると思います。
So in that sense, this is a contemporary interpretation of that theme. So, like I mentioned, he himself so is not so terribly intent on changing back his body. He merely wants to dance happily. But the ghosts around him finally make that his body returns in the way it was. And so in the final part of the film, there indeed is a big change. But so this change then also makes him wonder whether he now is more happy or whether he was more happy before.
Okay, thanks. Another question back there? Yeah.
What do you feel the biggest difference between adapting something into a series is or into a film?
series.
A series
Of
of
animation.
an anime series. Yeah.
Adaptation. 本案なんですが、これをシリーズにする場合と、それとも一つの作品、映画にする場合、何が違うのでしょうか。
個人的には短い映画であっても多くの要素を入れようというふうに1時間半で分からなくてもいいっていうふうに考える方ではあるんですけど、シリーズの方が多くのことをたくさんかけて主人公たちが変化していくのも2段階3段階と描くことができるし、その他も書くことができます。で監督しての立場だったらシリーズにはまたディレクターがそれぞれついたりするので、彼らがやりやすいようにでも自分の流れは引き継いでうまく作ってもらうように、映画の時は割と全部自分でやる感じですけど、シリーズの時は人にやってもらいながらその人のいいとこも出しつつうまくまとまるようなことを考えますね。
So even in the case of a relatively, let's say, limited in time film, I think you can put in many elements and make people forget that it's only 90 minutes. Nonetheless, of course, like in a series, you can put in even more elements. And whereas, so in a film, you can maybe have your protagonist change once. In your series, you can have maybe 2 or 3 changes. Another element is that, so if it's a series, so in many cases, you will not be the only director, depending on the part. So the director will shift. So, of course, let's say you want to place your own stamp on the part that you are making, but you also have to consider the current and the characteristics of the others. So, yeah.
そうね、昔テレビをやってる頃は1話が放送された頃はまだ後半作ってないので、その反応によって内容を変えることもありましたし、
So, taking it back slightly in time, so to the television animation days, here, like, you didn't know yet. You started out, and then depending on the reaction, you would find out whether you could take following parts or not. So, this could then also change the line of the story.
もう一つはちょっと忘れてしまいました。はい、大丈夫。
I forgot.
Okay, another question over here. Second row. Okay.
Mike's over there.
Is it on? Oh, hi. Thank you so much. One major question that I have is for audience. How do you make decisions? You mentioned before how you pointed your different shots or your different frames inside, outside, so that people could see different things. But my major question is around audience, How do you make decisions around different age groups, around how you want people to see if someone was inspired by an animation like The Fox and the Hound, how would they feel after it? How do you make those decisions around your audiences and how they should feel?
オーディエンス観客の様子に関してお聞きしたいなんですが、やっぱりいろんな観客想定できると思いますし、作品ごとそれも変わると思いますが、年齢ベースもありますし、すでに原作を読んでるかどうかとかっていうのもあると思いますが、それをどういうふうに対応してますでしょうか。
やはりこう、原作のものが昔であったりすると、今のものであると割とそのままできるだけやろうと考えますし、でも昔のものなら昔の時の感じを今味わってもらうにはどういうすればいいだろうというふうに考えていますね。
So in the case, so that I'm making a film on the basis of an original. It depends a bit, so whether the original is very recent or whether it's like from the past. And so if it's from the past, so I try to make people experience it in a more contemporary way.
年齢的なものはもう最初は考えてるんですけど、やっぱり最終的には自分の書きたいものを書いてるというふうに思いますね。
And so in terms of the age of the audience, of course, it is something that you consider when you start a project. However, it's quite secondary, and so it's much more important what I want to show in the film.
表層的には分かりやすく、でも考えていくともっと奥に広がりがある。一回見ただけだと全部は分からないようなものを多分作りたいと思っていますね。
So you could make something that, let's say, at first sight is easy to understand, so maybe then also catering to a younger audience, but I always want so that to be a more deeper side, so that there is, there's a lot of value then in there to watch it more times and see different meanings and see that not everything is that easy to understand.
そうですね、優しく喜ばせる映画よりはなんか挑戦的な映画の方が好きですね。
So in that sense, so rather than easygoing films, I prefer films so that challenge my audience.
I think we may be out of time, but one more question. Is that okay? Okay. Second row there.
Oops.
So it kind of ties into the last question, but in the last hour we've talked a lot about specific movies.
About?
Specific movies.
Specific movies.
But I wonder, in all the projects you've done, all the movies you've made, has there been one specific thing you've been striving towards since the beginning? Or like a sense of personal truth, maybe, that you search for in everything you make?
今までの、お話の中で、いろんな作品が出てきましたが、なんか監督の中でそういう一番メインに狙ってる目指してるところはございますでしょうか、個人的に。
企画によってそれをうまくやるように考えることっていることが多分一番ですけど、最終的には小さい子や子供に世の中が割と面白いところがあるなと思えるような作品を作りたいというふうに思っています。
Of course, it's case by case, project by project, but eventually, so I want to make films that give children the feeling that the world is an interesting place.
That's great. One more? Or one more? Okay. Sorry, there in the front. Yeah, okay. Sorry.
So with animation being something that requires a lot of patience and time since you have to draw about over hundreds of images for a second, what is your drive or motivation that keeps you, animating? Because it could be something that you're doing it for a bigger like purpose, but when you're doing it, it might be kind of tedious almost. So how do you keep going, and what's your motivation or drive for it?
まあアニメーションはやっぱり最終的に大変なことで何万枚も描いて、1秒間2秒になるんで、その仕事をやり続けるにやっぱりどういうモチベーションがありますでしょうか。
そうですね、まあ最初ほどだんだん大変に感じなくなっていくんですけど、なんか書けないものが書けるようになったり、それとか、基本的にはあまり強くイメージを持ちすぎないように、臨機応変に、どんな形のやどんな状況でもベストをそこで起点が効くことがいいことだというふうに思っていますね。
So actually it has become a bit easier. So things that were difficult at the start are no longer as difficult as they were. And I also try to, let's say, not to have too strong an image, and very much so emphasize improvisation, so I can remain flexible.
Okay. One more, or we're done? It's time. Okay, it is. Sorry, but it is. Okay. So I wanted to thank you so much for sharing your time and your thoughts with us today, and just to say wherever your journey takes you, we hope it will be wonderful for you. We are sure that for us it will be something to be excited for and grateful for. So, arigatou gozaimasu.
ありがとうございます。Thanks so much. Thanks so much. Dank well. これからまだ映画上映されるのでぜひ見てください。よろしくお願いします。映画まだ上映たくさんあるので、ぜひ見てください。
はい。So as you probably know, many of my films will be screened during this festival, so please go out and see them all.
Yes, please enjoy.
Thank you so much.